Welcome to our NewsLink Indiana football recap alongside Casey Miller, sometimes known as C-Mill the Thrill, and Logan Hancock. I'm Amanda Smith.
I'm jealous. I need a cool nickname like
We're going to have to
Casey's
come
got.
up with something for Logan.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction.
Yeah.
That was a private nickname
All
until
right,
now.
We'll think of something
You
later.
guys think of something for Logan.
All right.
All right, we have a lot to get into. On tonight's show, we're going to be talking about Ball State head coach Pete Lembo's announcement that there will be a new starting quarterback this weekend. But first, let's rewind to Ball State at Eastern Michigan last Saturday. Now, Ball State is going to struggle in the beginning of the game, and they are especially going to struggle at the quarterback position. Jack Milas is going to go 0 for 5 passing, and that is going to give Eastern Michigan some momentum. They're going to go up 17-0 midway through the second quarter. Darius Jackson just blows by Ball State's defense right there for an Eastern Michigan touchdown. Now in comes the hometown hero from Yorktown, Riley Neal. He's going to give them a spark. Ball State down 10. Neal with the pass through the middle to Jordan Williams for a touchdown. They cut the deficit to 3. And Ball State is going to go on to score 28 unanswered points. And they're going to hold on to win 28-17. Now, before we talk about anything else, I want to know overall thoughts from the game.
I thought it was a great performance, definitely coming off of the rough Texas A&M loss. They had to get some momentum going. First MAC game, you go in there and get the win on the road, get your first MAC win. That's always a good thing. And the defense played tremendous. They actually pitched a shutout after the first 7 minutes in the game after giving up 17. So I honestly thought the defense stepped up, and they needed a big performance, and they got it from their defense.
Yeah, you mentioned that clean slate in the second half there. Ball State's defense really pulled themselves together after struggling in those first two. But I really want to focus on the offense. Riley Neal, obviously, Amanda, you mentioned him really just taking over with this offense. But I want to talk also about the 1-2 punch of Darian Green and James Gilbert, two phenomenal running backs that the Cardinals kind of brought almost out of nowhere. And it's been great to see them be really effective so far this season.
All right, now earlier this week in a teleconference, Pete Lembo announced that Riley Neal will be the starting quarterback moving forward. Here's what he had to say.
Well, he's doing a nice job of giving us a balance between the run and the pass. He's still learning, and he's still got some growing up to do, but he gets out there in the game, and he's very, very comfortable, and he's confident, and he can make some things happen with his feet if plays break down, and he certainly was able to keep our offense on the field and keep the chains moving last week.
Now, actually, last week we had one of our analysts, Tony Sandleben, on, and he had a pretty strong opinion about who should be at quarterback. Do we have a clip of that? Can we play that clip?
I think Jack Milas is still the better starter in this point.
He's gonna have to write like an apology letter to Riley Neal, because that's just
right.
Yeah.
Casey, after Jack's performance in the Eastern game, is it the right move to put Riley in as the starter?
Now, you guys, I'm going to give Tony some credit first, like up front, okay? Now, last week, knowing what we know now, okay, maybe sounds a little foolish, but, Jack Milas, we still had a case for him. I mean, he's a far more experienced quarterback than Riley Neal is, at least at the collegiate level. And so I can see where Tony was coming from last week. Now, if we had him on again this week, I don't think there's any way that he could defend starting Jack Milas over Riley Neal again. Fortunately, we don't have to worry about seeing the Cardinals do that in the Northwestern game. Both quarterbacks, I was looking through some stats, and both quarterbacks, they have the same number of completions on the season, but Milas did it in 18 fewer attempts. And so it's really impressive to see Riley Neal's his efficiency and his completion rating as compared to Jack Milas. And I really think the offense just moves better with Riley Neal. And he not only is he a great passer, but he also offers a little bit of a threat on the ground. I mean, we saw him run for 41 yards on a scramble. He broke like 6 tackles to get to the touchdown. And it really kind of kick-started Ball State's offense against Eastern. And Riley Neal is 4 inches taller than Jack Milas, and so I really think that helps him see the field better. It's something that we've kind of seen Milas struggle with throughout the season is kind of identifying receivers that are open and hitting those targets. I think Riley Neal's height advantage is really what helps put him ahead of him as well as, just pure athleticism.
I totally agree with you, Casey. It's 100%. This is Riley Neal's job now. This is his position. He kept care of the football against Eastern Michigan. He had 0 turnovers. In that 41-yard run, he channeled his inner Marshawn Lynch, and he cemented his status on the team with that run for me. And you can tell this team just kind of gets behind him, and they really have his back as he rallied from behind. And I think it's really key that he's got this rushing attack trio, as you mentioned earlier, in Darian Green. He can catch passes out of the backfield. I call him the lightning of this football team. He had 166 rushing yards against Eastern Michigan, 374 total yards in the season. He's second in the nation in total offense actually right now. And then you've got James Gilbert thrown in there. He had 2 touchdowns last week, one right here against Eastern Michigan on the goal line. He has 170 total yards in the season. He's the boom. He's the guy you give it to on the goal line when you want to punch it in. And then they have that third guy, Teddy Williamson. He comes in and he compliments these guys when they need a rest. He's got 90 yards in the season. So with those 3 running backs and Riley Neal's ability to run it and pass, the offense really, the sky's the limit for the rest of the season. So.
All right, let's talk about the defense now. We've heard a lot about the offense. What do you think about Ball State's defense?
Casey?
They were suspect early, and we've talked about it a lot. The first 2 games of the season against VMI and then against Texas A&M, very, very shoddy defensive work, especially in the secondary. But I think Ball State really showed in that second half against Eastern Michigan when they, like we mentioned, that the defense shut Eastern Michigan out in the second half, which is the first time a Ball State defense has done that since the 2014 season. So over a season ago was the last time they did that. So it was good to see them kind of pull themselves together. You talk about linebacker Sean Wiggins. He's a junior, and he's really emerged as a leader on this defensive front for the Cardinals. He got 23 tackles on the season. He had 2 interceptions in the second half of that Eastern Michigan game. So it's been great to see him really step up and kind of be the catalyst that this defense needs.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, it was really a redeeming performance after the performance last week against Texas A&M. And you mentioned it, Sean Wiggins has really stepped up. He had 2 interceptions. Turnovers are crucial for your defense. Ball State needs to continue to get these turnovers on defense. They've only got 3 all year, actually, 2 of them coming in the Eastern Michigan game. So shout out to Sean Wiggins for coming up with those turnovers and really helping the Ball State defense out. The team who wins the turnover battle generally wins the game in a football game. So if the Ball State defense can continue to force some of these turnovers, they are going to look great on defense going on through the rest of the year.
And I'll tell you what, as far as turnovers are concerned, I noticed that Ball State, in the Eastern game at least, did not score a single point off those 2 turnovers. And so it's kind of frustrating on the defensive side to see the offense not able to convert, but luckily they were able to pull it together.
But it is nice to see the defense coming together and trying to force some turnovers for sure, though.
Now, it'll be interesting to see how they play against Northwestern this Saturday.
It's going to be a tough one.
What are your guys' expectations? It's a Big Ten team. What are you thinking?
Well, the scariest stat that I found when researching Northwestern was that they gave up just their first touchdown last week. And you got to remember, we're 3 weeks into the college football season already, so they've given up a total of 16 points on the season. Stifling defense. It's going to be tough for the BSU offense. Riley Neal is going into his first ever college start, and he's facing Northwestern, who has a great defense. They're first in defense in the Big Ten. And this Northwestern team beat a great Stanford team in Week 1. Stanford's coming off a huge win over USC last week. Offensively, Northwestern's ranked number 1 in the Big Ten in rushing, so it's definitely Ball State's definitely going to have their word cut out for them going to Northwestern and facing this Big Ten school. So.
Now, forgive me, and I hope I don't end up next week on the show as a kind of a Tony Sandlaven. You guys are kind of poking fun at him. I hope I don't find myself there next week, but I do have to say, I have to say, I'm cautiously optimistic about Ball State's chances this week. Ball State in recent years, Ball State in recent years, they've done pretty well against Big Ten teams. I mean, you think back when we played 2 consecutive years in Indiana in 2012 and 2013, Ball State picking up 2 big wins down in Bloomington.
Yep.
And so that's always good to see. And then you think last year, the Iowa game, while we weren't able to close it out, we had it in the palm of our hands. It was there. And so I think Ball State's record with some Big Ten teams, it has me a little bit excited. Now to kind of temper that, let's kind of ground
a different
me a little
beast.
bit.
Yeah,
You're right. And the
16th
defense,
ranked team in the nation.
You talk about a lot of different things, but their defense is, as you said,
phenomenal.
Just phenomenal. Yeah. I mean, Northwestern, they have the #1 scoring defense in all of the BCS. Oh, we're not BCS anymore, are we? The college football playoff. Yeah, all of those teams. They have the #1 scoring defense, and they're #6 in total defense on the year. So a lot of big playmakers on that Northwestern defense. But Ball State, we'll see if some offensive playmakers, Riley Neal, if he can start connecting downfield with some big plays, anything can happen for the Cardinals.
All right, well, I'll be at the game, so I'll send you guys updates. Maybe we can do a little play-by-play. All right, that is all the time we have for tonight. For Casey Miller, Logan Hancock, and everyone else involved, I'm Amanda Smith. We'll see you next week.